Sorry, give me a moment. Yeah, so let me know when you can see my screen. I'll just go ahead to present. Oh, okay, yeah. So once you can see my screen, just holler at me so I can commence.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, can
awesome.
see us fine.
Yeah. So, in IT basically,
Who's that?
sorry, can you mute your mic?
Sorry, let me mute.
Which I believe we are all keenly interested in. It's all about building solutions, right? And we build solutions for the main essence to solve a business need, per se, because a need could be a problem or it could be an opportunity. And there are several IT solutions that are out there, several of them. And when we talk about IT solutions, they could be hardware solutions like your mobile phones, your laptops, or what have you, or they could be software solutions like a mobile application. For instance, your WhatsApp application, your Telegram, your Google, your Gmail app, whatever application you have on your mobile phone or on your laptop, or it could be a desktop application, or it could be an operating system, OS, like your Windows OS, your iOS OS, your Android OS, and what have you. They are all called a solution, right? And for those solutions to be built and built properly, there's what we call documentation. We need to prepare a documentation to guide the engineering team, or in this point in time, to guide the software engineer or technology guys to build that solution, one, according to standard, two, according to the needs of stakeholders, and three, according to the needs of the business. That is why we basically document what we call requirements. What we learned in the last class basically was how do we get the requirements from the business, from stakeholders, and what have you. How do we get the requirement, which is requirement elicitation or requirement gathering. So what we're going to now learn in the next couple of weeks is, by the time we've gotten this requirement and they're very raw, right? The requirement is pretty raw. How do we then translate these requirements and communicate it in a way that a business stakeholder could understand, and also communicate it in a way that a technical stakeholder like a software engineer or a DevOps person or a quality assurance engineer would understand and effectively implement? So that's what we're going to be learning. And there are different ways we communicate, or should I say document requirements. Now, when we talk about solution requirements, what we are basically talking about is that we are trying to understand the conditions and the capabilities of a solution that solution needs to have in order for it to meet the needs of our stakeholders and also the needs of the business. So what conditions must be applicable or should be applicable to a solution, and what capability should that solution have in order for it to satisfy the needs of the business and also the needs of stakeholders. If stakeholders say we want the solution to be able to allow users to create accounts. So what capabilities should the solution have to allow users to create accounts? A typical capability is that it should have an account creation feature, or it should have a sign up feature, or it should have an onboarding feature. These three look very similar, but when you drill down into them, when you go much more detail, they could mean different things for different domain, for different customer, for different type of users, right? or in satisfying the stakeholder requirements or stakeholder needs that say want to build a solution that will allow users to create accounts. Part of the conditions will be that we want to only allow a specific type of users, maybe users with a membership ID and a password, or we want to be able to, allow users to sign up with a specific condition, email, phone number and password, or email address and password, or they need to provide an OTP or a token before they can sign up. Just like your banking mobile app, the way you log in on your bank app is different from the way you log in on your Facebook or on your LinkedIn, right? They are pretty much different, but it's the same login capabilities, but the conditions are different. So this is what solution requirements helps us to specify, helps us to understand, helps us to communicate to stakeholders cross-functionally. Now let's flash our mind back in the first class we had in week 1 or in class 1 when we talked about different types of requirements. Can anyone remind us the 4 classifications of requirements? Anyone? So I know we are just 2 here, so I know it's going to be pretty quick. Can anyone remind us the 4 classifications of requirements?
Is it the parts where you talk about elicitation? Are they different?
No. So in the first class, we learned Introduction to Business Analysis, and I covered part of it. Part of it was requirement classification schema, which is the 4 classification of requirements. Anywhere you hear about requirements in the face of the
Somebody's
earth.
asking to be let into the meeting in the group.
Oh,
I don't know.
really?
The person said, "Can somebody let me in?"
I'm coming. Hold on now.
The person's name is Steve. We have a new member.
No, I'm not aware of this, Steve. I don't know when he joined, pretty much, to be honest.
Interesting.
Okay. So I don't know when this Steve. Let me check my timeline.
Yes, and then let's be sure that we're not having somebody.
Really? Interesting. Oh my. I did not put security on this class, on this group chat. So people from other group in UpPros community are joining this. So I did not put security.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is it. That is what's happening. All right, let's go ahead. So
Okay.
yeah.
One more question. Please, what happened to that lady that was also part of our group? Because now we're just... There's one other lady that was here in the first class.
Oh, she was an instructor.
That is Jennifer. That is Jennifer.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so anyone, give it a shot.
Yeah, business requirements.
All right.
Do we have stakeholders requirements?
Okay.
I think solution requirements as well.
Okay. What else again?
Can't remember the other one, the last one.
Okay. Faith, you want to give it a try?
No, I honestly can't remember.
All right. Great. So, just as you said, we have business requirements, we have stakeholder requirements, and then we have solution requirements, and last of all, we have transition requirements. Sorry, I was trying to remove these guys from the group. That's why I was a bit distracted.
I see they were removing them.
Yes. I don't want to create confusion. That was because I did not put some bit of permissions and approvals on this group when I created it. So,
okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead. Business requirements. So business requirement, and this cuts across everything, whether you are a PM, you are a PO, you are a BA, you are anything, as long as you are building an IT solution. The need to build something comes from a business need. Or should I say, let me rephrase it to be more appropriate. To build a solution comes from a need, right? And most times in organization, it comes as a result of a business need. Maybe there's a problem we've identified in the business, or there's an opportunity that the business has identified. So because of that, we have a class of requirement that we call business requirements.
Okay.
Most times when you engage stakeholders, they will ask you, what does the business need? So you should to know what the business requirements are. And business requirements comes in form of goals, objectives, right? They come in form of expectations and outcomes. That is why in most companies, you have what we call OKR, right? Objectives and key results. So these are business requirements. It's your job as a BA to understand these business requirements. And when you go further down in the classification, we now have what we call stakeholder requirements. Stakeholder requirements are the needs of the stakeholders that needs to be met in order for us to achieve the business requirements. When you elicit the business requirements and then you are eliciting the stakeholder requirements, if there is a confusion or if there is no alignment between business requirements and stakeholder requirements, you need to call your stakeholders, in a room and let everyone agree that this is what we want as a business and this is what the stakeholders require. What do I mean? Let's say, for instance, a business requirement is that we need to make sure that all our members, right? Let's say, for instance, let me give an instance, an e-learning portal, right? An e-learning portal for maybe University of Toronto or University of Calgary, whichever one it is. We have an e-learning solution or learning management solution that the university uses, right? And you agree with me that that learning management solution or the e-learning portal, there's a client-facing, or should I say user-facing side whereby people can register to, to register for a course or register for a program, right, on their website. Now, the business requirements for that would be that we want to have a solution or a product that would allow potential students, right, to easily gain access to information about the university and also how to register for a program or for a degree program or for a course, right? Then in the main LMS, that is the learning management solution or e-learning portal, you can say that we only want our registered students, we only want registered students to be able to log in on the LMS. That is what the business needs. We only want registered students to be able to log into the LMS. But if the stakeholder requirements now becomes that we want everyone that accesses the link of the LMS to be able to log in to the LMS. Now there could be a problem in that alignment because the business is saying that we only want our students who are registered to be able to log in. But stakeholders, when they are providing requirements, they are saying something else. So you need to be able to know how to make sure that, stakeholders are saying that you want everybody to log in, every Dick and Harry to log in, but business is saying that they only want students to log in. For we to satisfy the requirement of the business, we need to make sure that we don't allow every Dick and Harry to log in. Rather, for you to log in, there must be something that is unique about you that we can actually relate to you being a registered student. Maybe a registration number, a student registration number, or a student matric number. So for you to log in, you will need your matric number and password to log in to the e-learning or LMS solution. So we have the business requirements, which is where you need to start from as a BA whenever you're eliciting requirements. Then you talk about the stakeholder requirement, which is the need of stakeholders. And then we now have solution requirements. Under solution requirements, we have functional and non-functional. And then the last of it is transition requirements. So this is just a flashback. I basically explained this in the first class we had. You can go back and listen to the recording and you can pick up from there so that we don't drag for today's class. So today we'll be looking at solution requirements. And as I mentioned, solution requirement is sub-classified into functional requirements and non-functional requirements. And in functional requirements, we are going to look at how we specify functional requirements and how we model functional requirements. So there are basically two things we can do to requirements when we are translating. They say the job of a BA or a PM is to translate business requirements into technical specifications. That technical specifications are solution requirements for engineering stakeholders to understand, to comprehend. And that solution requirement comprises, sorry, someone's mic is on. If you can do well to mute your mic, that would be so great. So one of those solution requirements is, a classification of solution requirements is functional, and the other one is what? Non-functional. So today and also on Saturday, we'll be looking at the various ways we can specify functional requirements, right? So what is functional requirement? Functional requirements basically talks about the capabilities of the solution. If you remember, solution requirements explains conditions and capabilities. The capabilities is explained under functional requirement, which talks about the behaviors, the responses, the informations, the operations that the solution needs to perform or have. While the non-functional requirement talks about the conditions of the solution, which is the quality of service or quality of use of that solution. And in functional requirements, what we are basically doing is to outline what functions or what functionality the solution will have. Every solution that exists on the face of the earth today, whether they are hardware solutions like our mobile phones, our laptop, our smart wristwatches, right? Or they are smart television or smart inverter ACs, whatever. Every solution that exists must have a functionality. And this is where we specify them under functional requirements. You need to be able to clearly explain and define what the functionalities or the functions of the solution would be. Would it be that it supports a login function, account creation function, a profile function, a payment function, whichever function it is? You need to be able to outline those functions clearly for everyone to understand. Functional requirement also helps us to outline the various tasks and the experience, the user experience or user journey that stakeholders would need to perform. So what tasks will they perform? What user journey or what process or what experience will they have or follow or encounter with the solution? These are the things that functional requirements helps us to outline. Another one is that it helps us to also communicate what type of information that the solution will be managing. We have different types of information. The popular ones like the personally identifiable information, PII. We have financial information. We have health information. We have so many information that solutions manage. And for each solution you are building, you need to be able to clearly specify or outline or model these solutions for stakeholders to clearly understand. And functional requirement allows us to outline the circumstances which the solution should behave under. What are the different circumstances for which the solution needs to be operational, right? Is it that it needs to be accessed over the web, or it needs to be accessed on a mobile app, on a desktop application, or is it on a smart watch? So what circumstances should the solution behave under? These are the things we kind of, communicate in our functional requirements. What kind of error messages? When you try to log into your maybe banking app with maybe a wrong password, the kind of error message you will see is different from the error message you are going to get when you try to make a payment with a wrong transaction PIN, or with a wrong biometrics, or with an incorrect token. So the behavior of the solution in different circumstances, functional requirement helps us to outline all of this. Now, what are the different ways we can categorize functional requirements? Functional requirements are purely categorized under 6 areas or 6 categories. Number 1 is authorization. And I mostly say this to help my students understand in areas whereby when you land a job, you don't just get stranded. You need to ask, what are the things I need to understand about a system or an application? Every solution, most importantly, software solution or hardware solution, they contain at least these 6 capabilities. These 6 categories. Every functionality, every functional requirement of any solution must involve around at least these 6 categories. Number 1 is authorization. Number 2 is authentication. Number 3 is compliance and regulation. Number 4 is external interfaces. Number 5 is transaction processing. And number 6 is reporting. We have so many, but this particular 6, every solution must have it. I will explain them in detail so you understand it. And the benefit of this is whenever you join a team as a PM or as a BA or as a PO, you will know how to ask questions and you know things to look out for when stakeholders, and you also know how to follow along conversations when stakeholders are talking about things that relates to these functional requirements. Starting with authorization, and I will give practical examples with what you and I know. Or let me start with authentication, right? Now, authentication relates to granting access. Not granting access. Authentication relates to verifying identity, verifying that this person is real or this person owns this account. That's what we call authentication. And an example of an authentication requirement is your login. Every moment, every point in time that you attempt to log into maybe your LinkedIn, or you try to log into your Gmail, or you try to log into your bank mobile app, right? What is happening at that instance is what we call authentication. And authentication simply means to validate if the credentials that this person has provided is valid for that particular account, so that we can grant the person access to that account. So we call them account access features or authentication features. That is what authentication talks about. Allowing users to gain access to the solution or gain access to their account. That is simply authentication. There are different ways we can manage authentications from a business analysis point of view. You can look at logging with email address and password. You can look at, today people just log in with their biometrics, Face ID or fingerprints. Or you can look at logging in with phone number and password. Some people log in with username and password. Some people log in with so many ways you can specify how the authentication should be. And all of these boils down to the requirement of stakeholders or the requirement of the business, right? So these are authentication requirements. The next one is authorization. Authorization relates to granting permission. Granting permission. For instance, or let's say, for example, I'm going to use a typical situation, case in point, with what used to happen in the bank before the financial sector was digitized with mobile banking. Before mobile banking, I'm going to use a practical example, then I'll now, so that you can understand how it relates to digital or to building what mobile apps do today, bank mobile apps do today. Before the invention of or advent of digital banking, when we want to withdraw money from our bank accounts, you go to the banking hall, right? And when you walk into the bank, if you have a checkbook, you pick up your check, you write a check of the withdrawal you want to make. Or if you don't have a checkbook, you can request for a withdrawal slip over the counter. They give you a withdrawal slip and you fill in the withdrawal slip. Now, who can tell me some of the things you put inside the withdrawal slip? Anyone? If you can still remember those days, we go to the bank to withdraw. Not today that we just stay in the comfort of our home and withdraw money. Anyone? Can anyone remember?
I think your name, your bank details, right? Yeah. Those two. And then no, it doesn't ask for address. It asks your signature.
No, just your withdrawal slip. Yeah. Sorry, you said something. What's the last thing you said?
Signature.
Signature, right? Now, signature. What does your signature represent? Anyone who wants to give it a shot?
Your identity, kind of.
Authorization.
Authorization. You are authorizing that payment. Same thing if you take a check and there's no signature on that check. They will say, nobody have authorized this check for you. They can't cash it for you, right? So signature represents authorization, right? Now, follow me. When you take that your withdrawal slip, you approach the cashier and they give it to the cashier to withdraw that money for you, or debit that money, or give it the cash. Is there at any point where the cashier tries to look at your face while looking at the computer?
Yes, true.
Mm-hmm.
A very quick, within seconds, just look at your face and look at the computer, look at your face. That cashier is basically doing what we call authentication. It's trying to confirm that you're the one that owns that account. So in the computer that he or she is looking at, your picture is there. Do you understand? Your passport that you submitted when you actually opening the account is showing on that computer. So he or she is looking at your face to compare to the image. Of course, the signature has been verified or validated that it belongs to the account. But the person also needs to do what we call authentication to see if this person is actually the person that I'm seeing in the face of this account on my laptop. Now, what basically now happened when we now digitized banking process was that how do we make sure that it is someone that owns accounts that can actually have access to the accounts? We now have what we call authentication requirement, which is to log in. If you don't enter the correct username or email address and password, you won't be able to log in. Or if you're using your Face ID, if it is not a face that has been registered to that account or to your device, you won't be able to log in. And it's been so complex, which I don't want to go into details, in the sense that for mobile apps, you can try this today, but please don't try it if you know that you don't want to create problems for yourself, or if you don't have the time to walk into the bank and fix issues on your account. But you can try it if you want to explore what I'm about to say now. If you download your bank mobile app in another phone, or you buy a new phone, you download and install your bank mobile app. Even though your email address, your login credentials is correct, they won't be able to allow you to log in until you unbind or unlink your previous device and then link the new device. That is because our mobile phones have become part of the authentication processes for both your crypto, everything financial. Your mobile phones or our mobile phones have become part of our authentication device. So that's what we call secured customer authentication, SCA. You can Google it and learn more about it if you have passion or interest in fintechs, right? We call it secure customer authentication. It basically says that for users to be able to gain access, or I'm giving you a summary now, for users to be able to gain access to a financial solution, they should be able to provide 3 elements, at least 2 out of 3 elements. And these 3 elements are 1, knowledge elements, inherence elements, and possession elements. Knowledge elements, that is an element or something that the user only the user knows about. They call it knowledge element. For instance, your email address and your password. The next one is possession element. An element that only the user possesses. An example is your device, your mobile phone. And the third one is your inherence elements. An element that only represents that user. That is why you see most banking apps. Is that you must use at least 2 out of these 3. The minimum is that you must use 2. Some banking applications can implement 3, some implements 2. But the minimum for regulatory compliance in financial industry is 2. So is it that you are doing knowledge and inherence? Sorry, is it that you are doing knowledge and possession, or you are doing inherence and possession? Possession is kind of compulsory. So is it that you do knowledge and possession, or inherence and possession? So these are authentication requirements. And as I said, it gets complex or it gets more tricky or detailed depending on the industry you are working or depending on the business need. If you are working in a financial or should I say fintech company, they are very much specific about authentication because of cybersecurity issues. Okay, now work with me. That is, so I've covered the I mentioned about how they used to authenticate back then, during the days before digital banking. They just look at your face and whatever, compare with the face in the picture they have on the computer to see if you're actually the one that owns the account or you're impersonating someone else. Now how did we now digitize the authorization? Because when you're trying to send money, you are not going to sign. Do you sign on your mobile phone? No, you don't sign. But there's a way we need to be able to set up an authorization requirement on mobile banking, bank mobile apps, so that it will be easier so that we can easily pub any form of financial crime or cyber security or cyber attack or whatever fraud that want to happen to that particular customer of the bank. So by the time you log in and then you want to send money, maybe you want to send money to me, my birthday is coming up, you want to give me a birthday gift, and then you want to send me maybe £50,000 or $50,000. And then you log into your app, you select my information, just like you do with your withdrawal slip. You enter the name of the person you want to send the money to, or if you're transferring the money to somebody, you enter the information of the person, the name, the bank details, what have you. You enter the amount you want to send, right? So you do all of that on your mobile app today. Once you enter the amount, there's something that you need to do, right? And this depends on different financial institutions, which is why I said it depends on the business requirements. If you have more than 3 bank applications on your mobile phone, you can try it. You also see that all of these things depends on the business requirement, on the requirement of the business. It's the same authorization requirements, but depending on the need of the business, right, they could be slightly different how they are being implemented. Some banking mobile apps will tell you to just enter a transaction PIN. It could be a 4-digit transaction PIN. Once you enter the transaction PIN and the transaction PIN is correct, that is you authorizing that payment. So your transaction PIN now represents the signature you sign, right, or you include in your withdrawal slip or in your check. That is what your 4-digit transaction PIN now represents. The way that you enter your transaction PIN, other banking applications will tell you to enter a Face ID. Other people will tell you that, you enter a transaction PIN, we are going to send you an OTP, so you also enter that OTP. Some other people will tell you to use a token to authorize that payment. So depending on the business requirements, that will determine how the business wants their own authorization process to go. So this is how solutions are being built. And they are basically captured under functional requirements. So we have requirements that speaks to authorization. We have the ones that speak to authentication. We have the ones that speak to compliance and regulations. And compliance and regulation or compliance and regulatory requirements are basically requirements that the business must satisfy in order to remain compliant to regulatory policy. Regulatory policy, for instance, could be a data protection policy. In Europe, we have what we call GDPR, or in the Western world, we have what we call GDPR, General Data Protection Policy Regulation, right? And for every digital solution, you need to be able to, you need to make sure that you are compliant to what GDPR, in the sense that how you basically collect, process, and refine user data. So these are examples of compliance requirements. How do we manage user data? How do we store our user data? How do we collect user data? How do we refine user data? How do we share user data with other third-party solutions that we are integrated with? These are compliance and regulatory requirements. Another aspect of compliance and regulatory requirements is, you agree with me that on your bank mobile apps is what we call legal documents, your account legal document, like your terms and conditions, your account terms, whichever document, privacy statements, privacy notice, all of that. These are legal documents. So we categorize them under compliance requirements. Another relatable or easily relatable compliance requirement we have today as well is the one you see whenever you want to create an account. If you remember, I think it was in this class that I was talking about the difference between customer and users, right? And I used Amazon, for instance, right? Can you remember when I said you can only you become a customer when you have a contractual agreement or legal or contractual obligation to fulfill? And I told you, when you are trying to create an account on Amazon, to tell you that by continuing or by creating an account, you automatically accept whatever. That little statement you are seeing there, if it is not on Amazon website, the regulatory bodies, they can easily sue or sanction or fine Amazon millions of dollars. Just that small statement you see there on the on their website, you want to create an account. That's an example of a compliance and regulatory requirement clearly represented on a solution. So there are some compliance requirements that you need to understand. At what point do we communicate this requirement to the user? At what point do we collect this requirement from the user? At what point do we process this particular requirement from the user? And these are questions you need to ask during elicitation. So what this basically helps is that if you are trying to draft your elicitation question, right, you can basically look at, what are the different categories of functional requirements I need to put in mind? Okay, we have authorization, this and this. Okay, what kind of questions will I ask under authorization? Example is, how would you want customers, or how would you want users to authorize? When users authorize this particular task or this particular activity, what would happen next? So you are basically getting this requirement. If you are told to go and do the research yourself, you can make this research online and say, let's say, for instance, you are working with a crypto organization as a PM or BA, and they tell you, we don't really know. Can you just, do research and see what other companies are doing? You can pick up a mobile app and an existing crypto app and compare. Or if you don't want to pick up and compare, you can go online and search. How does, let's say Binance, for instance, how does Binance, allow users to create? How can users create accounts on Binance? Or what are the steps to create an account on Binance? You see all of those information, and you can easily replicate. The next category of functional requirements is external interfaces. And this is a very interesting one. Why? Because solutions today, as at 10, 15 years ago, most solutions are isolated. They don't speak to another system. They just stay on their own. They're just on their own, right? They are kind of isolated. But recently, if you check across the web, no solution is an island. Just as they say, no one is an island. Now, it is applicable to technological solutions. Now, no solution is an island. Let me give an instance. How many of us have smart wristwatches? If you do, let me just know. Maybe Apple Watch or anyone.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
you do, right? Your smart wristwatch, is it connected to something?
Yeah, to my device.
Which of your device?
Phone.
Your phone, right? So
yes.
you can track everything, you can track your health from your mobile phone, right?
Yes.
All those information that you can see on your phone, you can also see it on the wristwatch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But because of the advancement of technology, every organization is building their solution to make sure that it can easily speak or interact or communicate to other solutions or systems seamlessly. Because the more ability your solution have to easily communicate to another solution, the better it is for you to have more users adopting it. Do you understand? Now, external interfaces basically speak to how two or more solutions communicate to each other. And there are different ways solutions communicate. And Faith, you could know this one now because this is more or less coming to where you are much more you have you have understanding about basically. So there are basically different ways that systems communicate to each other. Number one is API, application programming interfaces.
Yeah.
Right? So you have solution A, you have solution B, and they are communicating via API. So your wristwatch, your smart wristwatch, and your iPhone, they communicate via what? APIs. So when you buy that, let's say you buy your Apple Watch, your Apple Series, whatever it is, you buy it for the first time, they will tell you to set up, right? Once you set it up, part of the setup could be that they might ask you, do you want to connect this to your phone? You indicate your phone, you could connect via AirPlay or Bluetooth. Once you connect, that process of connecting your phone, that's your device, to your wristwatch is basically speaking. That channel of communication is what we call API. You won't see it, but it's happening over the web. So, or let me not say over the web, it's happening over a secured channel. The secure channel could be a web secure channel, an internet secure channel, or it could be via Bluetooth secure channel, right? That's why most times either you're connected via Bluetooth or via internet, maybe sharing your internet. Same thing happens when you try to what we popularly do today. You say, let me connect this speaker to my Bluetooth. It's via APIs. Or it could be you're trying to connect your laptop to your smart TV. All of these things are via API. We call it what? Sharing data, external interfaces. So you need to understand how would these two solutions communicate to each other. So API requirements are examples of functional requirements. We also have another type of way that multiple systems communicate, and that is what we call webhook. Webhook leverages on event creation. Webhook leverages on event creation. There's this thing we used to, say in Lagos, in Yoruba, here in Lagos, say, Moya. I don't know if you've heard about it before. They used to say, this one I've done, I want to go and do Moya. That means you're basically working anywhere you hear about an event going on. Even though you are not invited, you just branch and you participate because you want to, be part of the fun and the food that they are sharing. So Moya, right? So Webhooks leverages events. What Webhooks does is that you establish the communication between those two systems, right? Let me give an instance to make it a bit more clearer to you. And it might look a bit technical, but just bear with me, right? Now, still sticking with your banking mobile app. Now, that mobile app that you see, there is what we call a core banking solution. A core banking solution that is directly connected to that mobile app you have on your bank mobile app you have on your mobile phone. Maybe it is your JP Morgan or your Halifax Bank or Scotia Bank, Lloyds Bank, whichever bank. That bank mobile app you see is just the user interface, right? There is a back end to it, and there is a core banking connected directly to the back end of that mobile app that you have on your phone. when you make a payment from your mobile app, right, it will tell you successful. That successful is just to manage user, satisfaction or user experience, to let the user know that we are processing this payment. That payment instruction is sent to the back end, and then the back end sends that payment to a core banking. Now I'm going to explain all of those back end, front end in another class. So if you have any questions to it, don't worry, just keep hold on it. When I explain in another class, you will get the clarity on it. Now that's communication is sent as a payload. So we call it payload to the core banking. The core banking processes that payment information. So for every payment, there needs to be the information about the payer, and also the information of the payee, and then the amount that needs to be paid. So the core banking processes this information and sends it to a payment rail. In Nigeria, we use NBBS as NIP. In UK, they use things like FPS or CHAPS. In US, that's for dollars, use things like ACH, Wire, or SWIFT. So it's the core banking that will process it, and based on the information that was sent from the back end, the core banking will process it to that particular channel that should make that payment. When that payment has been done and the core banking processes it successfully, and the payment channel accepts the payment to send it to the recipient, the core banking will basically do what we call, will basically send a webhook. So it will update the status of that particular payment and send an event back to the backend to say, oh, this payment, there's a 200, which is successful, or 201, right? These are basically API communication codes, right? You could send a 200 or send a payment successful webhook back to the core banking. So back to the backend. So it has basically, that successful stuff has triggered a webhook event to be sent to the backend, and then the backend will tell you now that, so the backend will now tell the mobile app to inform the customer that their money is on the way, or their money has been sent successfully, blah, 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 blah. So that is how webhooks work, right? You can go and read more about them to understand how they work. They're mostly used in financial industries for payment statuses, to get status about payment. It's going to be a waste of time, effort, and energy for you to go and connect two different systems via API because you want to just get status. Rather, you set up a webhook to always pick up an event when there's a new status. Once there's a new status, you pick up an event and you communicate. Then we have transaction processing. Transaction processing. For transaction processing, what we are basically talking about is not your usual transaction. To the layman, what you understand by transaction is when you make payments on your app. But let me tell you that when you open, for a business analyst or a PM, transaction processing requirements is not restricted, or it's not just talking about payments related processing or payment transaction. Transaction requirements refers to tasks and activities that users perform on the solution. For instance, an example of transactional requirements on WhatsApp is sending chats, making video call. So these are tasks and activities that users perform on the solution itself. So these are transactional requirements. Okay? So when you are trying to understand what functional requirements are, you need to know what are the authorization requirements, what are the authentication requirements, what are the compliance and regulatory requirements, what are the external interface requirements. Are we going to be integrating to another system? And basically, most times when it comes to external interface, it's simply what information are we going to be sharing, and what information are we going to be receiving, right? Transaction processing requirements. And then last one, what are the reporting requirements? Reporting requirements. You agree with me that part of the reporting you get on your bank mobile app is your account statement. You can go and pull up account statement for the past 2 months. These are reports that have been stored on the system on your behalf based on the transactions you performed. Another example of transaction requirement that we also have on our bank mobile app is your transaction receipts. So when you make a payment, you can generate a receipt of that payment and share with people. Another example of reporting as well is when you see like your transaction history, or you see a dashboard of the total your daily performance, or your monthly reports. There was something that I think Spotify did ending of last year. I think it was last week, second to last week of December. Between 3rd and 4th week of December and 1st week of January. Who can remind me? If you can remember, who can remind me? It went all over the web, all over the world. People were talking about it.
Spotify. Who can remember? I can't remember.
Yeah, Spotify. So, did people remember where Spotify was aggregating, the top songs you listened this year? People were just sharing it on WhatsApp. Your favorite artists, your top 5 artists, all of those things. Did people remember something that happened in December? Oh, okay. So Spotify has been storing and aggregating the data, that's user usage data, for all their users throughout the year. And they thought to, delight their users by aggregating, getting their data scientists to analyze this data for each user and push it forward for users to see, oh, these are my top 5 songs. These are how many hours I've listened to my song. These are the total hours I listened to songs this year. This is my top 5 artists. They also tell you that you're a great listener, or blah, 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 blah. They give you all of those things. It was everywhere. People were just sharing it on their WhatsApp status, on LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. And it was a brilliant idea by Spotify. And many other companies started, doing the same thing, just to, because they realize that kind of delights the user. That's another example of reporting requirements. How do we communicate this data to our users? So every functional requirement of a solution falls under these 6 categories, right? I don't know if you have any question before I go into the different ways we specify functional requirement. Remember, I also talk about the categories of functional requirements. Now, what I'm not talking about is, what I'm going to go next is to discuss how do we now specify these functional requirements. Do we have any question?
No.
Zolfa, how about you?
No, I'm following.
Okay. So for functional requirements, there are 2 things we can do to any requirement or functional requirement, as I mentioned. Number 1 is to specify. Number 2 is to model. Modeling basically means using diagrams, drawings to communicate our requirements. While specification means using texts or statements, right? Or writing, putting your requirements in writing. While modeling means putting your requirements in drawing. Simply put, let me use a layman nursery way to explain it, so that, because what many people get confused about, and which myself I got confused about over the years, was when you see things like this and someone just, in a bit to impress audience, gives a very bogus definition about it, and you are being lost. You begin to ask yourself, what is modeling requirement? What is specifying requirements? How can I differentiate both of them?
Mm-hmm.
But simply put, specifying requirement, let me give an instance. If someone say, I need an apple, and you write APPLE, that is specifying an apple. You are specifying requirements. But if you draw the apple fruit, you are modeling the requirement. So Modeling requirements, simply put, have it at the back of your mind, speaks to what? Drawing, communicating the requirements in drawing. While specifying requirements talks about what? Communicating requirements as text, as words. Okay? So there are different ways we specify requirements. Number one is what we call high-level requirements. In our last class, I mentioned that by the time you finish consulting your elicitation activity, you communicate your elicitation results, or you what confirm your elicitation results, right? That elicitation result, we document it or we specify it in what we call high-level requirement. It is not technical. It is high level. You are basically communicating it as raw as possible. Let's say someone told you that we want users to be able to log in with their email address and password. In your high-level requirements, you communicate it that same way by saying users shall be able to log in with email address and password. That is high-level requirements. Nothing more, nothing less. Don't let the English confuse you, right? So whenever you hear high-level requirement, it's just basically a list of what? Shall statements. S-H-A-L-L, shall statement, or people say should statements. So you are basically making requirement statements with the use of shall and should. Users shall be able to register with their email address and password. Users shall be able to log into the solution with their this and this. Users shall be able to make payments with this. Users shall be able to authorize payments with this. The solution shall be just shall statements on a high level as it was given to you. You are not distilling it. You are not breaking it deep further down. It is high level when you are specifying the requirements. Then we now have a low-level abstraction of specifications. This low-level abstraction includes use case scenarios, or what you can also call it is use case specification. Use case scenario or use case specification. That is another example of what ways we will specify requirements. Use case specification is a more detailed and technical way to specify requirements. High level is not technical. Just as I said, this is a high level language. High level requirement, which is popularly called HLR, is not technical. But use case specification or use case scenarios, they are technical. We use it to communicate the requirement to the engineering team for them to better understand. Same thing with user stories and acceptance criteria. They are technical requirements along with epics. So we have high-level requirements, for instance, your HLRs, okay? And then we have low-level or technical specifications, such as your use case scenarios, user stories and epics, and acceptance criteria. Today, we are going to talk about use case scenarios or use case specification. And I'm going to write one for us in class today so that we get to see how it's being written. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so we are going to kick in. This is where the practical side now begins. So please pay attention because I'm going to give you guys an assignment to also write one for me and submit it on Friday before 10 p.m. Nigerian time, not 10 p.m. Canadian time. Okay, because 10 p.m. Canadian time is already Saturday for me. So I will take time to look at it, and then the class on Saturday, I will give feedback before we go into the class. Okay? That's the essence of my assignment. So open your mind and do it, attempt it. It's very important for you. It helps you to also learn along. So we are going to start with use case scenarios, right? And use case scenarios, so I can say use case scenarios or use case specifications, okay? They all mean the same thing. Use case specification represents the sequence of events along with information that event has to do with. What do I mean? We're basically talking about the different sequence of activities that needs to be carried out on the solution. Or simply put, we are basically talking about the different functions that the solution will need to have, and what information, detailed information, should the functionalities or functions have. Use case specification have a typical template. No matter whichever organization you find yourself, the template is the same. It's a standard template. One, we have the overview, which is the use case ID. We have the use case title, the description of the use case, and then we have the preconditions. For every use case, there must we should be able to communicate the precondition. If there is no precondition, you basically enter NA. NA means not available. Okay. After the precondition, we have what we call the user flow, or what we call the basic flow. This is where you outline the basic step to accomplishing that use case. And then we have the post condition. Post condition speaks to what should happen next after the basic flow has been completed. So you have outlined the basic flow or the basic step. When the user completes that basic step, which is that use case, what should happen next? That is what your post condition talk about. And then we have what we call the alternative paths. Alternative paths speaks to what is there any alternative way that users can follow in completing the basic flow? Are you following me now? For instance, the basic flow, let's say for login, could be, for sign up or account creation, could be that for the basic flow for sign up is that user click on the sign up button, and then user clicks on the sign up button, enter email address, password, and then user proceeds to what? Verify accounts. While alternative flow could be that used for when a user has not signed up, by the point they click on checkout, you should direct the user to the login page. To the sign up page where they will need to what? Sign up. I'll explain that with Amazon. Okay. Then we have the business rules. Well, let me just explain it before I go further so that it stays more in our memory. Oh, cool. Let me go to Amazon.com. Now we have basic flow. As someone who wants to become a new user of Amazon, when I come to Amazon.com, the basic flow is for me to come here and go towards create account because I'm a new customer, right? So start here, which means I come here and I click on create account, and then I enter my, you guys can see my new screen, right? Let me just confirm. You can see my Google Chrome interface, right? Hello, Faith, so far, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, but now there's a glitch. Okay, it's good.
Yeah. So this is the basic flow to what? Sign up. The basic flow is that user clicks on start here from this place, isn't it? And it takes me to the account creation or sign up page for me to what? Put in my information. Now there's an alternative flow. That alternative flow means instead of starting by clicking on, the basic flow says user clicks on start here, the sign up, the account creation page opens, user provides this, user provides this, user provides this, and then clicks on here, provides name, mobile number or email, password, re-enter password, and user clicks on continue, right? This is the basic flow. The alternative flow is this. Watch what will happen. I don't have an account on Amazon at the moment. So let's watch what happens. This is an alternative flow. Now, this thing that you see here, we are showing you items, blah, blah, blah. These are just communication, basically. I thought it was something I wanted to communicate that to you. So let's say, for instance, I'm scrolling. I don't have an account with Amazon. And then I'm scrolling. I say, oh, these are lovely watches. And I want to buy one of these. okay, I click to say, let me just get more information. I say, oh, I love this, $49. That is good. Let me select it to get more information. Remember, I did not click on sign up or login or create account. I'm just looking at this. I can view information about these wristwatches, everything about this. I say, let me add this to carts. Then when I add to, I say added to carts. You now say what? Proceed to what? Checkout. Isn't it? Now I want to buy this. I click on to checkout. Watch. It tells me, oh, come on, you can't you can't do this except you either sign in or you create an account. So this is an alternative flow to bring users to what? Account creation. So it has brought me back to that same account creation page. So in your use case, when writing your use case, you should be able to indicate if there is an alternative path to completing that use case. You specify it under alternative path. But if there is no alternative path, you simply put what we call NA, not applicable. Okay? Then the last one is business rules. Business rules are a set of conditions that needs to be met, that needs to be satisfied for that use case to be functional. So you need to set rules or conditions for your use cases. And it is also called an acceptance criteria. Okay, it's also called what? An acceptance criteria. Now let's look at a structure itself, how it looks. So it's a table. We have the overview where you write the use case ID, right? And then we have the title. We have the description, where you give a short description of the basic flow. We have the actors and interfaces. So if there are actors are considered as what? Users. So who will be making use of this use case, or who will this use case affect? You list out the actors, maybe a student or a customer or teacher or professor or student or merchant or whatever, or patient or doctor or nurse or pharmacist. You list out the actors. If there are other external interfaces that this use case would affect or impact, you also list out the interface. Then the precondition, and then the basic flow, you atomize them in steps. The post-condition, the alternative flow, and then the business rules. Now, if the functionalities you need to capture for this particular solution are 50, it means you're going to write 50 tables for each table will represent each functionality or each function of the solution. If the functionalities are 100, you write 100. You replicate 100 of these tables. Here is a sample that I have here, maybe an e-learning solution. The title is Create Account. Description, this explains how a student should register on the e-learning solution. Actors and interfaces, the actor is just a student. Precondition is that the student have a valid email address and the user is on the registration page of the solution. The basic flow is that the user enters first name, enters last name, enters email address, enters password and confirms the password. The user clicks on Create Account button. The post condition is that the user receives a mail to verify their email. The alternative flow is that the user can go from book a teacher page, and from there it leads them to what? Create accounts. Business rules, which is set of condition or criteria, is that the password must be alphanumeric and must contain at least one special character. This, or this. The password must be between 6 to 12 characters. The Create Account button must be disabled until the user has completed all input fields. We should only accept correct email formats type, such as hello@yourmail.com. So this is a basic example of a use case specification. So I'm going to go over to practice. On Saturday, that's this weekend, we'll look at epics and user stories. So for the benefit of time, I'll go into practice. I'll write a use case specification for a requirement. But I don't know if you have any question before I go into practice.
Yes, I have a question. So
Please go ahead.
at what points do you
Do you
know
write this?
exactly? Because most of the things, that I find difficult is not just understanding, it is knowing,
When to use it.
exactly in my head, if I get into a company or if I'm doing an interview and the question is asked, what comes first? What do you say that you did based on all those things that we're saying?
Okay, brilliant. So usually I don't answer this question at this point in time because I'll end up explaining them much later, but for your own benefit, right? I'll give you that response. Your use case specification is written in your functional requirement document. So there's a class where I'll cover requirement documentation. Are you following me? So this requirement specification is written in your functional requirement because it's a technical specification. And your functional requirements documents are technical documentations. So you write it in your FRD.
Okay.
And you only write your FRD when you have completed your elicitation and business requirement documentation.
Okay.
Are you following me now?
Yeah.
For interview purposes, let me also state it here. If they ask, where you can state this in interview is that you can talk about, they might ask you, tell us how, as a BA, how you able to deliver a project as a BA or as a PM. So you say things like, first, I started at the delivery phase where I tried to understand the business need by understand the business need and stakeholder needs by conducting requirement elicitation activities, which is a requirement elicitation. By the time I was done with my elicitation activities, I documented all of the requirements that were given to me by cross-functional stakeholders and had a workshop with them to approve or align on the requirements that have been provided. Once I got comfortable, I got a bit of comfort or alignment with the business on the requirements. I went on to translate this requirement into technical specifications, such as user stories, acceptance criteria, use case scenarios for the engineering team to understand how to build out the requirements of the business. Do you understand? So this is how you kind of explain it in an interview.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think someone has a hand up. Is it
Sulfur? Yes.
Yes, I just wanted you to go a bit slowly. That was kind of fast.
Okay, sorry. Okay, the beautiful thing is that the recording is also there. Do you understand? That is the beautiful thing. Do you understand? What I've said is captured in the recording. Yeah. Do you understand? But as I said, and all of these things will be covered in subsequent classes. Okay, but for the benefit of the question that Faith asked, so let me respond now. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Same thing when you have an interview. I can prep you. You can have a one-on-one and we discuss. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's get our hands dirty. I'm going to open this. So there's a requirement over the years that was gathered for IBA, International Institute of Business Analysis. They want to build an e-voting solution for their upcoming executive elections for both presidents, secretary, and vice presidents. So this is an example of the requirement elicitation results. So you see it's requirement elicitation results for International Institute of Business Analysis, IIBA e-voting solution. So Zolfa, if you can help us read out these requirements results. This was what I used for other classes. Let me just delete this so that I'll write a fresh one. Okay. Okay. So Zolfa, you help to read out the requirements. Is it okay, or should I still zoom in?
Yes, please.
Are they legible enough?
It's quite tiny. You can zoom a bit more.
How about now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, number one, there will be three types of users on the solution, which are A, super admin, who will be in charge of one, configuring the system, two, uploading data of eligible voters, and three, uploading the data of candidates, four, exporting reports. B, election monitoring committee, EMC, who will be responsible for one, starting the election, two, closing the election, three, publishing election results. C, eligible voters. These are members of the institute who will be responsible for one, casting votes on the e-voting solution. Number two, super admin should be able to generate and send login credentials, membership ID, and one-time password to eligible voters. Three, eligible voters should be able to log in the e-voting with their membership ID and password. Four, for a first-time login, the eligible voter will be required to change the password. A, upon successful password change, the eligible voter should be required to log in with the new password and membership ID. B, to reset the password, the eligible voter will need to provide current password.
Sorry, I can't do that. I'm
New
sorry. Siri,
Faith.
I just muted. Siri was answering. Sorry.
new
All right, go
password
ahead.
and confirm the new password. One, upon resetting the password, the eligible voter will be required to log in with the new password and membership ID. Number five, all users should be able to log out. Number six, the system should log out eligible voters who are not active on the system after 5 minutes of inactivity. Number seven, eligible voters should be able to view the various vacant positions. Eight, eligible voters should be able to view the manifesto or profile of all candidates. Number nine, there are three positions the candidates will be vying for. A, President. B, Vice President. C, Secretary. 10, an eligible voter cannot select more than one candidate for each position. 11, the system must not accept more than three vote selections from the eligible voter. 12, eligible voters should be able to submit their votes. 13, eligible voters should receive a vote acknowledgement receipt via mail when they have successfully submitted a vote. 14, an eligible voter cannot vote more than once. 15, eligible voters should be able to rate their experience after casting their votes. 16, the administrator should be able to upload the candidate information manifesto profile on the system before the election starts. 17, administrator should be able to upload a list of eligible voters before the start of the election. 18, there should be a countdown timer showing the number of days, hours, minutes left to close of the election. 19, the election monitoring committee, EMC, should be able to open and close the election. My,
20.
my eyes are doing okay. 20.
Okay, let me zoom in more.
Okay, yeah, 20. Thanks. The
Sorry.
EMC should be able to download the results of the election. 21, the AMC should be able to vote, hence they can perform all activities that an eligible voter can perform. 22, votes cast must be stored securely on the e-voting database. 23, the e-voting system should be subject to auditing by our auditing partners, AY, PwC. A, the auditing will occur before and after the election period. B, the first audit will happen before the start of election, and the purpose of this is to verify that no voting data has been captured on the IBA e-voting database prior to the election. C, the second audit will happen after the election has ended, and the purpose will be to ensure that all vote results are credible. 24, we shall be publishing the election results to our website after the close of the election activity. A, the publishing will be automatic and done immediately after the EMC closes the election. B, hence, we will be integrating the IBA website into the IBA voting solution.
All right. Thank you so much, Zolfa, for that um, assistance.
Yeah.
So, Faith, can you summarize or just explain, based on what Zolfa has read, your understanding about these requirements, what the business, which is IIBA, wants to do?
Okay. Oh wow, that's a lot. Summarize this entire thing. Um, from my understanding, they are trying to. This is more on the voter side, right? So for people who are probably trying to vote, maybe the executive or for different position. So they're trying to create a solution to enable the voting process to be kind of like easier. And then in the voting process to make it more um maybe more digitalized. That's what I see as well. Like an easier process. Maybe I don't know what their previous, I'm sure this is as is right now. This is their current process, or this is their future state. I'm not sure if this is what they want or this is what they currently have, because from voters should be able to, that means that's what they want. So that's their future state. But what I understand is they are trying to make their process seamless and integrate some new changes, to those processes that they have, like their election vote monitoring process.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Zolfa, for that as well. So just as I was explaining, I said different ways we specify requirements. And in our requirement elicitation result, we use high-level requirements, which is it. This is basically shall statement, or you say should statement. That's why I see things like super admin should, eligible voter should. Do you understand? All users should, system should. You will see a lot of should and shall statements, right? That is a high-level requirement or elicitation result. And as a BA or as a PM, most times when you join an organization, is either the project has started and someone has actually captured the requirements, and you were not there when they captured the requirements. And when they capture the requirement, they might just document it as something as bare as this, or they might document it in a spreadsheet, whichever way. It is your duty as a BA to now look at it, sit down, read, try to understand what they're trying to do, and then see how to now help the team to move forward. And other times you could be lucky as well. The project, they brought you in so they can start a new project with you. In that way, you will not be the one to what? Elicit the requirements yourself. So whether you are the one eliciting the requirement or the requirement has been elicited and documented for you this way, it's the responsibility now falls on you as a BA to now manage the delivery of that particular work. So from the requirement that we are giving, they said there are going to be 3 types of users, right? We have the super admin, EMC, and the eligible voters. And this is an e-voting solution. It means that no other person should be able to use the solution aside these 3 types of users. Either the super admin, EMC, or eligible voters. Now, they went ahead to say that this is what the super admin should do. The super admin will be the one to generate and send login credentials. That means the login credentials are membership ID and also password, right? Now, when the eligible voters receive that membership ID and password, they will use it to what? Log into the e-voting solution. Are you guys following me? Am I so fast?
No,
Or
you're
you're
not.
following along?
I'm following.
No,
Okay,
it's
how about you,
okay.
Zofa? Okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
eligible voters should be able to log in to the e-voting solution with their membership ID and password. And it gets more tricky in the sense that if it is a first time login, that means if that user, the eligible voter, is logging in for the first time, this should happen. For first time login, the eligible voter will be required to change the password. And when they successfully change the password, they will be required to log in with the new password and the membership ID that the super admin sent to them. Okay? And they showed us the process of what? Resetting password. It was explained here. All users should be able to log out. The system should be able to log out eligible voters who who are inactive, just like what your mobile app used to do, your bank app, right? Your bank mobile app, if you log in and you leave it open for 5 minutes, if you are not using it, it will automatically log you out. We call it session timeout. Eligible voters should be able to view the profile of candidates, and there are 3 types of candidates, or three positions rather, that candidates will be vying for: president, vice president, and secretary. And it went ahead to state further requirements on how they should cast their vote. They should be able to rate their experience after casting their vote. The results should be uploaded, blah, 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 everything. Now we are going to write a use case specification for login, right? If you see here, it says this is basically what captured login. Eligible voters should be able to log in with what? Membership ID and password. This was how it was given to us, high level. But as a BA or PM, when you want to now communicate this to a technical stakeholder or want to translate it to a technical specification, you will now go as detailed as possible, which is what we are going to. So just these 2 items, we are going to convert it into a technical specification using use case specification that we just learned. So I'll go first, go to insert, select table, and then insert my table, right? I'll do this. First thing is to enter the use case ID. Use case ID. Since it's an e-voting solution, whichever ID nomenclature you want to use, you can use US001. Do you understand? US001, or you can use, since it's an e-voting solution, you can do EV001. So this ID has to be unique to this particular use case. Next one is the use case title. Use case title. Eligible voter login. Okay? Or you can call it login, and then you put in brackets or a dash eligible voter. The next one is you talk about the description. So you are describing this use case. This use case explains how an eligible voter should be able to log in to the IIBA e-voting solution. Then actors and interfaces. The actor for this is who? Eligible voter, right? Then I'm basically following what I gave you guys here in the templates. If you watch, yeah, actors and interface, description, title, use case ID, all of that. So it's basically what I just thought that I'm doing. And that's the beauty of business analysis. Once you know the technique and the skills, or PM, once you know the technique and the skills and tools that you can use at each point in time, work is easy for you. Then we have preconditions. The precondition that we are giving here is this. 1, they said super admin should be able to generate and send login credentials. That means the eligible voter must have received a membership ID and one-time password or password, right? Another precondition is that the election, the EMC should be able to, the EMC should be able to what? Open and close the election. It means if the election is not open, there's no way they'll be able to log into the e-voting portal to cast votes, right? So there are 2 preconditions that are there. One is eligible voter must have received membership ID and password, right? Or let me say must have must have a valid membership and password, membership ID and password. Another one is that the election has been opened by the EMC, right? Now, let me just bullet this. Okay. Then the next one is the basic flow. For the basic flow, we are basically talking about the steps. Number one is that eligible voter ID, eligible voter enters password. Next one is eligible voter. Sorry, give me a minute, please. Okay, so eligible voter clicks on the login button. This is the basic flow to login. Then let me just put this in a numbered list since it's a step. The next one is post condition. The post condition is that if one of the post condition is, well, let me just make it basic. One of the post condition is what? Accounts, e-voting, accounts access. E-voting account access. Another post condition, which I don't put here, I'll put it in my business rule basically. So let me not put it in post condition. Okay. Then the next one is alternative flow or alternative paths, whichever. So I'll put an NA here because there's no alternative paths. So it is not applicable. Okay. Then the last segment is what we call the business rules. Are you guys following me up onto this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm used to saying guys because I'm used to talking to guys a lot. Are you ladies following me? Let me be gender sensitive.
Yes, we are here.
All right. Okay, so now we have the use case ID, use case title, description, actors and interfaces, preconditions, basic flow, post condition. If you realize, we are just giving these requirements this way, these two items here. But because we are communicating to technical stakeholders, which is the software engineers, you need to make sure that we communicate this high level information that have been given to us in the decision in a technical way for developers to understand. Now, let's now list out the business rules. One of the business rules are, so business rules are basically acceptance criteria. The eligible voters must have a valid membership. Okay, let me make it this way so to be a lot more easier. Now, let me explain it this way so that it will help you guys a lot to also understand and also when preparing your stuff. There's what I call happy and unhappy parts, right? Happy and unhappy parts. We use this happy and unhappy parts to be able to cover all aspects of the user experience and also process for the way we state our business rules or acceptance criteria. Happy parts means when things go smoothly. That means it is successful. Unhappy part is when an error is encountered. That is what an unhappy part. Okay, so let me just do happy parts. If you choose, you can ignore it. Many people don't tend to use it, but it helps you if you are starting as a junior person, or if you are not so skilled or you don't have much experience to be able to start, you don't miss out on some things. Okay, so you can do happy or unhappy parts. But let me just leave it for now. Let's go with the way I write it, or the usual way that is been written. So we capture business rules for key areas of our requirements. Number one is that let's look at what we have on the basic flow. Eligible voter enters membership ID, password, and clicks on login button. So let's tackle the one for membership ID. I'll basically say membership ID. Let me underline this. Now, for membership ID, we must ensure, okay, a valid membership ID should have the following, or should satisfy the following conditions. One, it must be 6 characters. It must be 6 characters. It must have, it should consist of letters and numbers, with the letters occurring first and numbers last. It must correspond to the IIBA membership numbering series of AAA.
Unlock your iPad first.
111. Sorry. Okay, that's for membership ID. Now let me capture an unhappy part on this. If the membership ID has a different format aside AAA 111, then the user should see an error message saying invalid membership ID formats. Okay. Another one is that when the am I saying user? Wait, eligible voter, sorry. Eligible voter. When the eligible voter has entered a valid format for membership ID, the error message should not be displayed. Hope my grammar is correct. Okay. Which other thing can we say about membership ID? Let's go ahead to password. Let me let this. Okay. Yeah. So for password, A valid password should satisfy the following criteria. So it should be criteria, not condition. Following criteria. Number one is that passwords must be alphanumeric with special characters. Password must contain at least one uppercase, one lowercase, one number, and one special characters. Special characters allowed should include this, and this. Passwords must be 12 characters. Must be 12 characters. A sample password would be Faith Zolfa 2024 acts. Is this 12 or is more than 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. Let me do Faith's. Hope you don't mind me concatenating your name. F8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So let me remove this. So these 12 characters. So this is basically me writing the business rules or acceptance criteria for password. If the eligible voter enters an invalid password format, the eligible voter should see an error message saying, let me just copy and paste this instead of typing again. Saying invalid password formats. Oh, okay. Yeah, invalid password formats. Right? Let me add another one. There should be a placeholder text on the password input field. Let me also copy this and replicate it for membership ID because it is a very good criteria. Membership ID input. So this is what I mean by placeholder text. You see here it says password, which is the title of this input field. But there's a placeholder text that says at least 6 characters. Same thing here, we have your name. And it says, and there's a placeholder text that says first and last name. So that's what I mean by placeholder text. Okay. So let me go for the login button. And I'll bullet this. Oops, sorry. Those are my buttons. Okay. Now, we basically want to basically capture what should happen when the customer, or what should be the condition or behavior of this login button. Okay, the login button should be disabled. I can say grayed out if the eligible voter has not provided a membership ID and password. Okay. When the eligible voter has provided a membership ID and password, the login button should be enabled / activated. Okay. Then upon providing a membership ID and password, when the eligible voter clicks on the login button, the following checks should occur. The system should check if the membership ID and password are valid for an eligible voter, right? Stored on the DB. Or let me make it database. Eligible voter data stored on the database. If the login credentials, I'm tired of writing membership ID and password, are not valid, the eligible voter should see an error message saying sorry. What am I doing? Saying okay, incorrect membership ID or login, password. Kindly try again. Okay, let me go with the first one also. If the login credentials are valid, the eligible voter should be redirected to the IIBA e-voting solution homepage. Okay, it's better like this.
Sorry guys, so I'll have to drop now. Watch the video and
Yeah,
then
I'm almost done even, but no problem. Yeah,
because
fine.
we have a meeting at 2 p.m. here. 3
No
p.m.
problem.
Bye.
No problem. I'm almost done. Then the last one is if the eligible voter is logging in for the first time, the system should redirect the eligible voter to the password reset page. Yeah. Okay. Let me. Okay. Let me bring this once. Brilliant. So this typically is the use case specification for just this. Let me make it back to 125. For just these two requirements that we've given, we've basically translated into technical specification for our engineering team to understand and implement. You can go as far as possible to keep on writing as more business rules that come to mind. But this is just a typical example. Zofa, do
Wow,
you
I'm
understand
with
what
you.
I just?
I'm just admiring the way you are able to do it seamlessly, like you were not even thinking.
Because I've been doing it for several years.
I know.
Do you understand? And you
Yeah.
can only get better at this when you practice and practice. That's why I will give assignments, and I will encourage you to practice beyond the assignment I give.
Okay.
We say practice makes perfect or practice makes for perfection, whichever way the grammar or the English go. So as long as I never got better at this by just I practiced, I made mistake, I kept on practicing and practicing. So you practice it in your assignments. In the project you're going to work on, you also practice it as well. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this like a business requirement document?
No, this comes in your
GRE?
functional. This part of what you have in your functional requirements document.
Okay.
So a functional requirement just imagine we have this requirement, this high level, this illustration result now. You all distill this illustration result into the various functionality that this e-voting solution should have. If at the end of the day, you find out that this e-voting solution will have about 20 functionalities, you now write each of them for one use case. So you write for login, you write for logout, you write for vote, cast votes, this one, everything. You write it. That is just this, which is just a section in your functional requirement. Your functional requirement document. Sorry, this is just a section in your FRD, your functional requirement document. The functional requirement document has like almost 10 different sections.
Okay.
And this use case specification is just a section out of the 10 or out of the 5.
Okay.
Do you understand? Yeah.
Yes.
But your BRD is where you have your high level requirements because you are speaking to business requirements. Okay. While your functional requirement is a technical documentation that speaks to the functionality of the solution.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is that. Do you have any question that you want to also rewatch and get more context?
No, I'm okay. By the time I rewatch and then attempt the assignment, I'll get better.
Yeah. So the assignment is this. I'm coming. Let me get the link to these documents and share on the WhatsApp chat. So the assignment is this. You need to do, I want you guys to write the use case specification for password reset. This sub requirement under here. So you say upon successful login, you'll be required to reset password upon when they are logging in for the first time. So this one, for first time login, you need to write the use case specification for it. Okay?
For first time login, okay. For first time login,
resetting password for password reset, you need to write a use case specification for it. So I'm not going to write the assignment on the WhatsApp chat because I want people to listen to the recording and then hear the assignment at the end of the recording. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So that is it. And please submit it latest 10 p.m. Nigerian time on Friday, so that
Okay.
I can review ahead of the class on Saturday. Okay?
All right. All right.
If you have any question, please reach out to me and I'll be glad to help out by responding.
All right. I will.
So I posted the file on the chat.
Okay. And the
have access
WhatsApp group.
to it. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Do
All
enjoy
right.
the
Thank you for
rest
the details
of
class
your
too.
day. You're welcome. All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.